OCAD University's second honorary doctorate recipient is Duke Redbird. It is now my pleasure to call upon the founding chair of Indigenous Visual Culture Program, Associate Professor Bonnie Devine, to introduce Duke Redbird, who will then address the graduating class. Bonnie?
When OCAD University's Aboriginal Visual Culture Program was founded 5 years ago, we needed someone with a breadth of cultural knowledge and an established intellectual and creative practice who would bring an Indigenous approach to art and design education. We knew that this individual would need to fulfill a demanding and highly visible position within the university. We were looking for someone who could break a path. In Aboriginal culture, a path breaker is someone of great vision and experience, who is both brave and cautious, who can see far into the distance to lead us, and yet who can also see very close up to the ground beneath his feet so that we don't stumble. We found such a leader in Duke Redbird. He was born on the Saugeen Ojibwe First Nation on the south shore of Lake Huron. He began his career as an actor and poet at the height of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. And he quickly became politically and socially active on behalf of Aboriginal and Métis human rights. During the 60s, young Native people across this country were making a noise and steering us all toward recognition of Aboriginal inherent and treaty rights. As one of those strong voices raised up in anger and hope, Duke served as Vice President of the Native Council of Canada from 1974 to 1976, and as President of the Ontario Métis and Non-Status Indian Association from 1980 to 1983. Breaking a different path, Duke was also among the first wave of Aboriginal people in Canada to enroll at a university. He received his Master of Arts degree in Interdisciplinary Studies from York University in 1978. His graduating thesis, called We Are Métis, continues to be a seminal text on the history and political aspirations of the Métis people to this day. Along with all of these activities, Duke also became an accomplished poet, an essayist, playwright, screenwriter, and actor. His books of poems, his theatrical productions, his appearances on TV and in videos and in films have contributed to the written and oral repository of Indigenous thought and literature in Canada and globally. By the time Duke came to the Indigenous Visual Culture Program at OCAD University, he had a deep knowledge and a wealth of personal and professional experience. His idealism and unshakable belief in the inherent goodness of people and the inherent perils of the mechanistic institutions that we all inhabit helped us lay the foundations for the Aboriginal programming we now have at OCAD University. His vision helped define a way forward for the new program that will serve it for many years to come. This is what a pathbreaker does. He brings knowledge, confidence, and fearless hope, either in the classroom or the studio or sitting across the table at a buffalo stew lunch. In the summer of 2012, Duke retired from OCAD University to break yet another new path. He is building a food forest and a center for compassionate living at his property at Bark Lake near Algonquin Park, where he will teach concerned individuals of all ages the principles that will help them to build a better world. It is my enormous honor to introduce one of this year's recipients of an honorary doctorate degree from OCAD University, Duke Redbird. Senate of OCAD University, I recommend with great pleasure that Duke Redbird be awarded the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
On behalf of the Senate of OCAD University, I confer upon you, Duke Redbird, the degree of Doctor of Fine Arts, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges thereunto appertaining.
Well, thank you for those kind words of introduction. And at this time, I would like to acknowledge the Mississauga First Nation of New Credit for the gift of a portion of their traditional territory to the people of Canada and the City of Toronto in particular. Also, it is traditional to thank and acknowledge our elders, our ancestors, and all our relations that make up the grand tapestry of creation. I am both humbled and grateful today to receive this distinctive honor and recognition. I want to express my sincerest appreciation to OCAD University, the Senate, Chancellor, and President for making this occasion possible. And I have a special place in my heart for Professor Bonnie Devine, who encouraged me to join her staff and help her to introduce Aboriginal visual culture to the curriculum of OCAD University. It was an auspicious undertaking and coincided with the transition of OCAD from a college to a university. Aboriginal visual culture has since evolved into an expanded and more inclusive program called Indigenous visual culture. The word Indigenous simply describes people and cultures that occurred and evolved in a particular place. All of us in this room today are descended from an Indigenous ancestry somewhere in the world. In the past, our Indigenous ancestors had a symbiotic relationship with the earth, a relationship that had many advantages to both humans and the many diverse environments that they occupied. OCAD University is among the first institutions of higher learning to integrate First Nation culture into the contemporary curriculum of art practice, thus paving the way to an enlightened examination of our Indigenous origins and our desire to represent ourselves creatively through art that stretches back many thousands of years. Since I left OCAD University last spring, I have moved to my residence near Algonquin Park. And there on the shores of a pristine wilderness lake, I have acquired a relationship with nature and have found a healthy measure of peace, tranquility, and inspiration as a result. It has been said that education in part is the ability to assemble information strategically to accomplish goals, and wisdom is the ability to choose the right goals. I, like all my ancestors before me, look to nature for wisdom I find wisdom in the plants and vegetations that feed and heal us, in the animals we call creature teachers that instruct us in the ways of nature and our Mother Earth, whose bounty, in the wisest of all possible ways, has sustained her children since the beginning of time. I am inspired by the wisdom that is embedded in every grain of sand and constantly in awe of the incredible sacred fabric that cloaks our Mother, the Earth. I find that in nature one discovers things that were there all the time, but were overlooked because of the constant barrage of processed, packaged, and altered reality delivered by a corporate industrial complex that is often at odds with the natural wisdom of creation. This paradox was recently brought home to me when I learned that the newest and trendiest diet book on the market today is called the Paleolithic Diet. It purports to describe the original food that our ancestors ate 2.5 million years ago. And according to the research, each meal was half vegetable, a quarter portion of protein, and a quarter portion of fruit. It seems our Indigenous ancestors had it right all along. So now I would like to exercise my poetic license and make a metaphorical leap and suggest that art is food for the soul. And it follows that we have been raised on a prepackaged diet of altered, manufactured, and pre-programmed imagery in a variety of mediums by an impersonal industrial complex. Today is a day of celebration and graduation. You all have been well educated and have learned to strategically assemble information to accomplish creative goals. So now you have the opportunity to exercise wisdom in your career, in your life choices, and your art practice. Perhaps now is the time to re-examine the divergent skills of our Paleolithic ancestors and take a page from their experience. Fill your plate, half with the produce from your harvest here at OCAD University. Divide the other half with a generous fistful of creativity from the protein of your DNA, and finish off with a healthy portion of inspirational fruit. And I can predict that you will remain lean and trim in your art practice and never suffer from the obesity of manufactured mediocrity. I would like to finish my remarks with a poem called The Power of the Land. In every nation, in every clan, the elders to a person, whether woman or a man, shared a common truth, one truth to understand, that the spirit of the people is equal to the power of the land. The mother of us all, the sacred Mother Earth, is constant in her giving and perpetual in her birth. In meadows and in fields where weeds and flowers grow, she conceives the summer showers and spawns the winter snows. In forests and in mountains, she gives the birds that fly every type of wing, then coaxes the wind to join in harmony when they begin to sing. In brooks and streams and rivers as they flow, she generates the dreams and makes the fires glow. And in every creature, large and small, she buries gems of wisdom in them all. And in every grain of sand, she plants the knowledge of the power of the land. And those that honor her creations and acknowledge her grand design are given the templates of the sacred and the patterns of the divine. And then with certain knowledge, this to understand that the spirit of the people is equal to the power of the land.
Redbird, and thank you